Hi, so we're going to talk about the escalation cycle. So I want to show you a model that explains why the same patterns keep repeating, even when you're doing your best to stay calm. And this is called the escalation cycle. And once you understand it, a lot of behaviour suddenly makes sense. So I'm going to talk through it afterwards, step by step, but just to give you an idea, there's different steps. So the first step is the baseline. And at the start of this cycle, this is when someone is regulated enough to talk, think, cope. This doesn't mean life is perfect, it just means the nervous system is coping. Then we talk about step 2, which is the trigger. So next comes the trigger, and the triggers are not always big or obvious. It could be tiredness, a tone of voice, a memory, feeling misunderstood, or something that looks really tiny on the outside. What matters is not what the trigger is, but what it does to the nervous system. And then it's escalation. So here is where stress starts to rise, the body's becoming more alert, more reactive and less flexible. And this is often where parents start trying to fix things, but the nervous system is already shifting into the protection mode. And then we've got step 4, which is crisis, dysregulation. And at this point in the cycle, the survival brain is in charge. And this is where you might see shouting, withdrawal, self-harm, complete shutdown. And it's not manipulation or choice, it's a nervous system that's overloaded. And then step 5, we've got the fallout and the recovery. After the peak comes the fallout, exhaustion, shame, confusion. And often parents and young people feel drained and upset and may promise things will be different next time. And then we return to the baseline. So eventually things will settle down until the next trigger appears. And this is why it feels like you're going round in circles, hence the cycle. Because without support earlier in the cycle, the same pattern keeps repeating. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the graphic, which will be a downloadable, and talk you through each stage. Okay, so this is the escalation cycle. It can sometimes be known as the escalation curve as well. So I'm just going to explain this to you. And this is obviously when somebody goes into crisis. Okay, so this is where they start, the baseline. So it's where they're thinking clearly, communicating, coping with everyday demands. And they may feel emotions, but they're manageable. So then we go into the trigger. So a trigger can be anything that activates the nervous system, and triggers can be internal, which could be tiredness, hunger, anxiety, and then external, it could be your tone of voice, expectations. Triggers are definitely personal and often invisible. So then we go from the trigger to the escalation. And then at this stage, the nervous system is preparing for threat, even if they're in no danger. Stress does begin to rise, emotions intensify, flexibility reduces, and then reactions become quicker. And then it then goes into your crisis and complete and utter emotional dysregulation. So this is when the survival response takes over, whether it's fight, flight, freeze, or shut down, and the logic and reasonings are completely unavailable. So behaviour is driven by physiology and not choice. It isn't deliberate, it's very protective. And then from there, we've got the de-escalation, so like the fallout or the recovery. And this phase is often misunderstood, but it is part of the nervous system recovery. So after this surge comes exhaustion. Then you get the shame or the guilt, emotional collapse, withdrawal or emotional sensitivity. And then goes into the stabilisation. So completely calm, show some respect and compassion, and then we're then back into the baseline. So in terms of the caregiver, what we need to do, so control our own responses, try and model calm behaviour, and use non-threatening body language. So what I'm doing is I'm going to put a downloadable on the bottom of this YouTube video. So you're going to get that, and you're also going to get that, which explains all the triggers there as well. I'm also going to attach a blank copy of this so that if you want to talk it through with your loved one, then you can do. So I hope that was helpful to you. So next week, I will explain what actually is happening in the brain at different points in this cycle and why talking stops working once emotions are high. But for now, just notice where your situations usually sit in this cycle. Awareness is the first step to change.